Welcome back. We're up to questions 18 to 20 in Acer's Purple Book, Section 1. So these questions revolve around a little abstract from a scientific paper. Now, you're probably going to read this and freak because there's a lot of words in there that, unless you've actually studied medicine, you don't know, like post-myocardial infarction or anti-arrhythmic drugs. There's statistics in there. Honestly, a lot of that is just there to throw you off. And if you try and spend 5 minutes actually understanding what this passage is saying, you're going to waste your time. So my suggestion would be to skim it and then just go to the questions. You can tell very quickly from the questions that you don't actually need to read the whole passage. So don't worry if you see that and you see words that you don't understand. Just skim it and go to the questions. So question 18. The CAST of CAST suggests that anti-arrhythmic treatment should, I can't even pronounce it correctly, but that's okay. So let's start off by finding CAST in the passage. And what you can quite literally do is just look for CAST because it will be in brackets behind cardiac arrhythmic suppression trial. Just look for the CAST. And what we can find out from the passage is that this shows harmful effects in patients, but it may be beneficial in high-risk patients. So, think of it as, as lots of treatments. They can be harmful, but if you're high risk, the harms of the drug are lower than the risk of the disease. That's basically what it's saying. And so that's why the answer is D, which is only be used for those with high risk of mortality from post-myocardial infarction. So because this drug can be harmful, so therefore it should only be used in the high-risk patients where there is high risk of mortality. So that is why the answer is D. If you only read the first bit, which was it has harmful effects in patients, then you probably would have gone with A, which is not to be used for post-myocardial infarction patients because it's harmful. And then if you'd misread the second bit, which was, it can be beneficial in high-risk patients, then you would have gone with C. It's actually quite simple when you break it down. Just try not to get scared by the text and just go to the answers. 19. According to the abstract, pooling data should involve. So let's go to the abstract and look for the words pooling data, and you will see that if you do this, we get the sentence, relevance of results from pooled data is dependent on, I'm just trying to find, is dependent on the homogeneity of the trials and is assessed by a heterogeneity test that is dependent on the analytical method used, And so that sentence literally tells us that pooled data is dependent on homogeneity of the trials, and that needs to be assessed by a test. And so that's why the answer is A. So if you pool data, you should test for homogeneity. It doesn't say you should eliminate it, which is why B is wrong. C and D are both relevant. So again, if you're not really from a science background or you don't really understand what pooled data is, that's okay. Just go to the text, find the sentence, and the answer is quite clearly there. 20. So CAST suggests that the intragenic effects of class 1 antiarrhythmic agents. Well, again, go to the text, find the sentence, and we learn that lethal intragenic effects may affect low and very low risk patients. So therefore, the answer is B. It's saying that the effects of the drug may outweigh the benefits in low and very low risk patients. So that is why the answer is B, because it specifically says in the answer option may outweigh the benefits, whereas A doesn't have that may in it. We can't say that it will outweigh the benefits because in higher risk patients it may not. So that again is why the may is there. If you're a bit confused, think of it as the debate that we're having at the moment about the AstraZeneca vaccine and all of the different opinions that are coming out. So initially it was told that yes, there is a risk of blood clots, which is why younger people should not get AstraZeneca, because at this moment, the risk of blood clots are higher than the risk of getting COVID and dying from COVID. Whereas in the older generations, the risk of blood clots is still there, but it is lower than the risk of getting and dying from COVID, in very simple terms. And so that's why the older population was recommended AstraZeneca and the younger population was not, because it's a balance of risks. But now that calculation has changed. I'm recording this in July 2021 in the middle of Sydney when there's a huge Delta outbreak. That has changed slightly, which is why the recommendations have changed. And that's basically what it's saying here. It's saying that these drugs have a negative effect, and that effect can be bad, but is it more bad or less bad than the effects of the disease? If you are a high risk for antiarrhythmic cardiomyopathy, the risk of the disease is greater than the risk of the drug. But if you are low risk for the disease, then the risk of the drug is greater than the risk of the disease. It's the exact same thing as what's happening with AstraZeneca. So again, if you're not sure, try and relate it back to something that you know, such as the AstraZeneca debate at the moment. Hopefully that made sense. Again, try not to get scared by the technicality and the statistical methods and everything. I didn't even know what they were. It's actually quite simple when you break it down. Okay, we'll also do question 21 because it's just one question. So this is a proverb or a quote from William Blake. In these situations, the best thing to do is to kind of rewrite it in your own head. So the quote says, if the fool would persist in his folly, he would become wise. So in other words, if fools continue to do the foolish things, they will become wise. Which means that the answer option is A. A says fool remains fools because they are half-hearted. So fools remain fools because they don't persist in their folly. They kind of half do their folly and therefore they remain as fools. B says foolishness arises from a lack of commitment. That's wrong. In fact, that's actually opposite to what this quote is saying. B is actually saying that wiseness arises from commitment to foolishness. And then C and D are a bit irrelevant. So that's why the answer is A. Okay, in the next video we will do questions 22 to 26. As always, like, comment, subscribe down below. Leave your comments if you have any questions. I will try to get back to you when I can. Yeah, see you in the next video.